What's up guys, Zach with Wired Customs. Today we're going to be re-chopping a car that was chopped in the 70s. I want to give a big shout out and thank you to Benchmark Abrasives for sponsoring this chop. They sponsored a bunch of my other chops. They have the best abrasive discs. I get my aerosol blades from them. I get my saw blades from them. My grinder mask, all sorts of stuff from Benchmark. If you guys want actual abrasive discs that last, buy Benchmark Abrasives. All right, I'm gonna have a couple videos here on a little series of chopping this 5-window. This car was chopped a long time ago. They think the 70s. It wasn't too bad. There's a couple things that needs a little bit of help. They kind of cut the rear window and the rear window the old school way, or the side windows and the rear window the old school way. That kind of leaves like a crease in the window. I don't know why. It was more common back then to have a hard chop with creases on these windows instead of rounding those corners out. So it's not a big deal, but one way we can fix that is by chopping this top a little bit more. That's going to cut out that nasty cut here, and that's going to cut out our edge in that back window. And when we go to put it together, we can finesse it and get those shapes right, nice and rounded and looking good again, without really doing too much to the overall appearance. It's going to probably come down 1 inch. That's going to clean all of our lines up all the way around. That 1 inch that I'm taking out is their cut, so I'll be taking their cut out all the way around. So instead of going where I typically like to cut it, I'm going to kind of cut it and cut out the parts that we don't like. So that's the plan. But I'm cheating a little bit. Robert, the owner, got us another set of side windows. Boy, I hope this car was messed up because this piece here looks really nice. But yeah, we got a whole nother piece of side windows, whole nother piece of character line that I can cut and get the proportions right, because this character line is hard here, then it softens up and turns into a roll down here. So there is a way that you can cut this character line to smash it so where that roll is quicker, because we're not going to have all this space to change. So there's a very simple way to cut a 34, 33, 34, 5 window to get that roll without needing a bead roller, an English wheel, and like 15 years of experience with metal shaping tools. So hopefully this will motivate some of you guys to chop one of these yourself if you own one. So that's what I like to do, is show a way for it to be simple without, $1 million worth of big tools. I think this is going to be number 6 for me. This is the 6th 33, 34, 5 window that I've chopped. They're all pretty similar. This body style doesn't have any straight edges anywhere. So where you cut it, you have to be kind of picky about it, even though I don't have too much of a choice at the moment. But you got to keep that in mind on where you're going to cut it and try to cut it in the least aggressive area. So here's an up and close look at just some issues that this chop has. How this character line is pretty beat up. I mean, it didn't get on there, good at all. It just cut out the difference, put it back down and welded it, instead of trying to cut a couple unique pieces out to make that shape right. So the only problem that I foresee having here is this has been hammered. It seems like they tried to hammer this out a little bit to make up the difference, or there was an issue, but they definitely had to pie cut it and hammer this around. Some old school torch welds, that's why we know this is probably pretty old chop. But with that new piece that we have, we'll be able to fix this. I'll be able to fix this. I mean, I can English wheel this, or I can cut that piece out and just move that piece a little bit and weld it on. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet until I get to that point, but either way around, we'll fix this, and all this on this chop. All right, so it's time for me to draw some lines on this car. Everybody chops these cars different. Everyone has a different style when it comes to metal fabrication. My style is very simplistic, light hand tools, not anything crazy. So for me, this is God when it comes to chopping a car. This is gonna allow me to do everything even. And this is the mix of what's most important to me. So I got a ruler that goes to a 32nd. If you're looking at a car and it's a 32nd off, you'll never notice it. Your eyes will not pick up a 30-second unless you're like Gene Winfield or something like that. Now this ruler has been completely worn off. This is a Truler's ruler, but I don't use it for measurements. I use it for the consistencies of these holes here. So if I threw this up here real quick, and let's do, the third hole up from this one, and I'll just mark it with a Sharpie there. And as I'm going around measuring things, I can put Sharpie dots in a consistent area all the way around this car. So I like to have this. Like I said, I don't care about the numbers on it. This helps me with the consistency. This goes down to 30 seconds. This allows me to open it up to just about any measurement that I want. So the first thing I want to do is I sprayed all this blue paint on here, and I am going to draw my cut line all the way around. I'm going to use this awesome little compass here, and I'm just going to pick how far off this character line I want to go, because this is where I'm actually going to be cutting the car. And I'm going to draw this all the way around. I've determined that I'm going to take my 1 inch out the bottom of the window. This is something I like to do a lot on these 34, 33s, as I like to take as much out here as I can, so this window doesn't turn into a little mailbox. Personally, the mailbox only looks good on the ultimate super hardcore chops, like the super duper Lakesters, where there's almost no window here, but there's also no window on the side, and there's no window on the windshield. So if all of them are super tight, this one looks good tight. But if it's chopped, right now, let's see, how much are these windows right now? These windows are 8.5 inches, and this rear window is, like 4 1/4. So there's a big difference on opening sizes, and I think personally, windows look better when they're all, similar size. So I'm gonna draw my little line all the way around in my blue spray paint. Some guys use Dykem. My blue spray paint is like way cheaper than Dykem, so it does the same thing. It allows me to get a cut mark. So let's get this drawn up, and we'll make sure I have 1 inch to cut out here. So I'm gonna go a little bit closer to that lip, just a tad. I'm not worried about this measurement. I'm just worried about consistency. If this car gets chopped even all the way around, it'll look good. So even is what we're going for. Then there's my 1 inch above this that I will cut out for that rear window. Okay, so I guess I'm just going to explain all my steps in the process that I'm going to do it. I think this is how I'm going to do this video. So I've been trying to get away from how-to videos a little bit because I do too many of them and just do project videos, but I can't help myself but explain what I'm at least doing or what's going on in my brain. So here is my cut line. I like to come up from the character line far enough to have a nice smooth area to weld and dolly on. Then I drawed out, it's more of a reference mark, but I expect to be up here and cut this out. So that's my expectation. It looks like the top is chopped 1/8 of an inch more on the driver's side than it was on the passenger side. So when I come down, I'm going to make sure that the chop is even within 30 seconds all the way around. That's always my goal, to get it within 30 seconds. 1/8 of an inch is right there to where it's too much. So that's why I say this is more of a reference. So when I come down with my chop, what I'm going to do is just cut this, and I'm going to cut everything else all the way around. And on the back, I'm going to slide this steel down and in, and I'm going to C-clamp it, and hopefully this mark and this mark together was what it needs. And I'll cut the middle out after the fact to make sure I don't just cut this out and I come down and all of a sudden my chop's crooked. So I like to leave extra until I've confirmed everything's good to go. So that's what these two lines are here. Typically on a 34 Ford, I will come down. I'll actually cut this out, and this back piece, this back lower portion of the window, I'll take this off and put it aside and save it. But since it's already been chopped and I'm not chopping anything out of here at all, and I'm only going 1 inch down and I'm trying to save the rear window at all costs, I'm not going up and out like I typically do. So that's what's going on in my brain right now. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Okay, for just like most chops, you're trying to cut out the straightest piece that you could possibly cut out so when they can join, less fabrication is needed. So here, that's pretty easy. We're just gonna cut out the straightest piece and the piece that I thought had the rougher welds. And so when these can join, I'll just make sure that the welds are a little bit cleaner going in. Up here, this is somewhat a straighter area. So between that and that, there's a less, drastic of a turn going on. This might only need like 1 pie cut to get it right. This whole A-pillar does all sorts of weird stuff. This is all filled with lead from the factory, so it's all rounded all the way up. But when you burn the lead out, there's just weird shapes right here. So if you guys are doing a 34, keep that in mind. When you burn this out, this seam is really ugly. Then back here, this is where I usually lose a lot of people when I start talking about this, is I'm gonna redo all of this, so I don't really care what I cut out. I got my line of 1 inch here that comes up, and I'm trying to follow some of this curve, but when it gets to this, I don't care. I'm redoing all of this here because I want this window to curve similar to how this window curves. We're trying to match the curves back and forth. There's a couple different options that look good. Either have the similar curve or a teardrop. Both of those look pretty good, but he liked the similar curve I did on the other car. So I'm just gonna try to do that same curve I did on the other car that somewhat matches the front. So I'll do the front door first, then I'll walk back here and try to mimic the front door similarly. Even though there's only 1 instead of 2, that 1 curve I want to look like this. So that's the goal. So I don't care, I'm gonna cut it out from here to here. And I might cut even lower because this down here should be tapering forward already here. But once I have this big open air and the car's down, the roof's down, I'll be able to eyeball this curve a lot better. And I'm just setting up one whole side. Then once I get this side set up, then I go through and measure where my cuts are all the way down. I didn't measure the front one yet, but this is 9.5 inch from this belt line, 5.5 inch from this belt line. So it's pretty straightforward. So on the other side, I just match my measurements. I'm just about ready to lob this roof off. So I've only have taken 1 inch out from the A and B pillars, and that 1 inch caused that much of a gap. See how far we're off there, and how we aren't. We're already pushing back from where it was. So that window looks nice though. Let's check this window out. I think that looks pretty hot. We can get our stock window out the back here and see how much chop it is exactly. So we have those uncut windows there. But the profile's there. Just need to move some more around. So this door needs to come back. And the arch, it already needs an arch. We're right there. We're in a straight and it's already calling for an arch. So that's how we'll fix that. And 1 inch usually doesn't make this much of a difference, but we were already, I don't know, 5 inches probably, 5 inches out of it before I cut 1 inch out of it. So we were already in all the curves and all the straights are gone, even though there's not really that many straights on this car. Width-wise, let's see what we're looking like. Sometimes you gotta pie cut them here and tip the pillars in, which I don't think I will need to do that. But we'll see. That's gonna be enough for me for today. So the car's telling me the whole story now. That's what I wanted to know. Sweet. Time to tip the doors and the A-pillars. All right, guys, that's gonna be it for this video as we just kind of hang out and chop a 34 Ford. So I think it's turning out pretty good. You can definitely kind of see now that we're not just cutting an inch out. We're really cutting whatever they cut out, like 5 inches. So 6 inches, somewhere around there. But I'll measure that door, and on the next episode, I'll measure that back window. On the next episode, we'll actually know the difference of what it actually is. But it's going pretty easy, pretty much how I expected it to go. We're sitting right on our line right now, technically, but the whole roof just needs to come back some. So I might have to extend here. I might have to cut this out here and do some finessing around there, which is pretty typical. But yeah, no, I like it so far. I think it's going good. So tune in for the next episode when we finish this chop up or get it in place, because these rear windows are always a lot of work. So see you guys then.